For years, Calvin carried a guilt that was never his to carry, and episode 11 of Marshals just ripped that open in the most painful and beautiful way possible. Because the truth about what really happened to Roner in Afghanistan was not what any of us thought, and now that the truth is finally out, the question is whether Calvin and Casey can survive what is coming next. Episode 11 was honestly one of the strongest episodes of the season, and it wasted absolutely no time getting into the deep stuff. Right out of the gate, we were thrown into the fallout from episode 10, where Casey had tracked down Neal, a former Yellowstone employee who had escaped prison and was dangerously close to exposing everything connected to the Duttons. Casey's plan was to silence Neal before he could talk, but Calvin seeing Casey in the middle of all that completely derailed everything. So in episode 11, Neal sat Calvin down and told him the truth about what happened at the Dutton Ranch, and watching Calvin absorb all of that information was genuinely uncomfortable because you could see him wrestling with two things at once. He wanted to help Casey, but he also could not ignore the fact that Casey kept shielding people who clearly did not deserve to be shielded. The tension between them was electric. But what saved their relationship was everything they have already lived through together, and after some raw and honest conversation, Calvin made the choice to give Casey another chance and agreed to bury what he heard about the Duttons. That moment felt earned and real, but none of us should breathe easy because Neal's body has surfaced, and when that investigation opens up, every dark secret Casey has been protecting is going to be right back on the table. But as massive as the Neal situation was, it was not even the most emotionally devastating part of episode 11, because the flashback to Afghanistan in 2015 hit like a freight train. We finally learned what really happened to Roner, and the truth was nothing like what we had been led to believe. During a dangerous operation, Roner got separated from the team, and when the situation deteriorated and the team believed he was gone, Garrett made the call that Roner was dead and ordered a retreat. What makes this so heartbreaking is that Roner was not dead. He kept fighting after they left, and if the team had gone back for him, the outcome could have been completely different. And yet all this time, Calvin has been living under the weight of blame for that decision, because he chose to protect Garrett from the trauma of knowing his call had cost Roner his life. Calvin carried Garrett's mistake as his own for years, and that realization completely reframes everything we thought we knew about Calvin's guilt and his relationship with Garrett. Which makes Garrett's final moment even more gut-wrenching because his last conscious act was to apologize to Calvin, and now we know exactly what that apology meant. The tragedy is that Garrett died after what should have been a successful surgery, and that robbed both men of the chance to truly make things right. Andrea losing Garrett this suddenly and this early in the season was also a brutal blow, and the ripple effects of his death are clearly not finished. Now, heading into episode 12, which is titled The Devil at Home, the focus shifts in a major way, and Miles steps into the center of the story in a way that is going to be intense on every level. The episode description tells us that the Marshals will uncover a drug cartel targeting the Broken Rock Reservation, while also learning that Miles has gone rogue to hunt down a human trafficker on his own. If you have been watching this season, you already know how deeply personal this kind of situation is for Miles, because we have already seen how he responds when vulnerable people, especially young girls, are being exploited, and this time with one of his own friends dying from an overdose. It is clear that Miles is not going to wait for protocol. He is going to move, and he is going to move alone, which is going to put him in an incredibly dangerous position. Thomas had just introduced Miles as a hero figure to the senator as part of the effort to shut down the mining project threatening Broken Rock, so the timing of Miles going rogue could not be more complicated. But if Casey and Thomas manage to pull Miles back from the edge and the team takes down both the cartel and the trafficking operation together, then Miles could emerge from episode 12 with more credibility and more leverage than ever when it comes to protecting his community. On the Casey and Andrea front, the grief from losing Garrett is going to pull these two closer, and even if a real relationship does not materialize before the season finale, the groundwork is absolutely being laid for something significant in season 2. Andrea carries echoes of Monica in the way she connects with Casey, and that is clearly intentional. Casey is someone who has spent so long protecting everyone around him that he has forgotten how to let anyone in, and Andrea might just be the person who changes that. But none of that can happen while Neal's death is still hanging over Casey's head, and with that body surfacing and an investigation almost certainly coming, Casey's world is about to get very complicated very fast. Season 2 is where everything connected to the Dutton crimes is going to fully unravel, and Casey is going to be forced to answer for choices he made a long time ago. Episode 12 is shaping up to be one of the most intense episodes of the season, and if you want every breakdown and prediction for what comes next, make sure you subscribe, because we are not slowing down until this season is done.